And in this example, you can see on the left-hand side, I've got a name, a step file, and then every single part has the same name. Okay. If I float over the parts in there, you can see that they're all the same name. Now that's the problem in itself, and also there's a slash in each of those names. So we now have a function called sanitize part names. It appears in two places, in the analysis tab and on the sheet metal tab. And one of the options in there is to at least remove illegal characters. Now those are characters that will cause a problem when we save these individual files on disk. Okay, so for example, / is not allowed. And you can see that it's replaced it with a common replacement for a /. Now this assembly, like I said, I've worked on it a little, and I've made some changes, and it's because they're all the part names, I can make different changes and make them different. Now the next challenge is to, when we start thinking about producing this assembly, is to look at these parts, and they're all the same name, but they're obviously very different. So that's going to cause us problems in manufacturing later. So the sanitize part names function can also rename parts that are obviously not identical. Okay. When I mean not identical, it means that they have a different topology, and it's quite precise, I must say. Even if I just put etching on one of the tubes, it's marked as a different part, is recognized as a different part. And what the software does, it quickly renames identical copies just by adding a bracket 2, bracket 3, bracket 4 after it. And what you end up with is actually a much better representation of this assembly. So instead of actually having individual names for each part, it tries to optimize and combine the parts that are identical in this way. It actually recognizes whether parts are identical or not. Now what it does by default is add a bracket and a number, a sequential number behind it. But the effect of it is that it's actually quite easy to now come up with a much better naming convention, because you know that all these parts with the same name are now the same parts. It's very easy to give them a better name. So these foot plates, for example, I've just selected everything that's called 02, bracket 2, and so now we'll call them foot plates, and some of them are weld plates and everything else. And why is that important? Now that's important when we think of what happens to this assembly down the line. Now for example, we might want an assembly drawing from it. So I'm using some of the new functionality. You can see here the icons bottom right for the parts list. You can see that the part names are now better. Okay. Previously, in the original file, I would have had one line in the parts list with, I don't know, 41 copies of the same thing, which is obviously unhelpful. Just adding the balloons to it, you can see that's really quick to make a manufacturing drawing, assembly drawing out of it. Now, in the sheet metal world, we like to take this a bit further. So what we're going to do is now automatically recognize the tube shapes in here. So every tube gets the PMI with its shape, and we'll do the same with the sheet metal parts. Okay, they're not bent, but they still need to be cut out of sheet metal. And from there, we can create a manufacturing pack. Manufacturing pack is all the parts disassembled into a folder structure, separated by what material, what we're making them out of, whether the tubes, sheet metal parts, any other parts, and it creates a folder structure like this one. And because of the work that I just used, the sanitized part names, the parts are named properly and appropriately, and they work throughout. Now the naming could be anything. I've used foot plate and weld plate and things like that, but there could also be references to MRP systems. They could be just numbering through whatever people want. But with the sanitized part names, you can at least be sure that the parts that are named differently are actually different parts and the other way around.